For more great content, hit the subscribe button and ring the bell.
Last one to go, Wardell misses the option, and at this point, you're just going to try to look for some exits because you're fully blinded. Aftershock fault line coming through as well. He picks up the Phantom in the first headshot onto AZK, putting his smoke in front of the site. There you still have a dark cloud moving in, a dark cover inside the main site. And somehow that should have connected, and he does connect finally with the Ghost. Tapping on the spike, he does get the kill with the Brax with that too.
But they'll be back in here. They can heal. They will be fine. But it's a 2v3. Now it's going to be a 1v1. It's just up to Sick. He has been spectacular, but it's not going to...
But we kind of feel, at least the commentary team, that you guys are the best in the world right now. And Wardell, I'm starting to kind of feel we might have the best player in the world as well. I'm not going to make you repeat it.
That's how TSM kind of rolled on in the early stages of Valorant, where you couldn't beat them offensively, you couldn't beat them strategically because they came from Counter-Strike and they knew how to play the Counter-Strike style. On those early days, it really did look like there was going to be a TSM dynasty.
In Valorant's early days, TSM were the dominant force in North America. Their roster was consistently picking up titles and developing into the superstars of this new esport. With the arrival of the Valorant Champions Tour in 2021, TSM were ready to prove themselves as the best in the region and one of the top teams in the world. But just as the VCT was getting into full gear, TSM's performances inexplicably imploded. They were unable to qualify for any significant tournaments. They missed out on every international LAN, and they fell a mile adrift of the pack.
But man, am I heartbroken for TSM right now.
TSM losing like this, I mean, from the finals of First Strike and now not being able to go to any Masters that we've had, this has been a disappointment.
2020 may have been littered with tournament victories, but 2021 was nothing short of a disaster. This is the rise and fall of TSM Valorant. In April of 2020, Riot Games' new FPS title Valorant sent shockwaves of excitement through the esports world. People were racing to get their hands on a beta key, and esports pros were already leaving behind the likes of Counter-Strike and Overwatch in favor of Valorant, while organizations scoured the emerging scene for competitive rosters. In May, just a month after the Valorant beta was released, Team Solo Mid joined the pack of major North American orgs flocking to the new game. And much like the majority of rosters, TSM's consisted of former Counter-Strike pros searching for a new lease on life.
When Mousepad first signed with TSM, I think a lot of people thought they were going to be good, but didn't know how far they would go. They were seen as one of the leading contenders, but they weren't seen as all dominant force. Their whole thing was that they wanted to play together. Those five believed in their heart of hearts that they were going to do well because they were Counter-Strike players, they knew how to play Counter-Strike, and they believed that knowing how to play Counter-Strike was going to be paramount to success early on in Valorant.
TSM immediately dominated Valorant's early events, and at the T1 Nerd Street Gamers Showdown, the team was head and shoulders above the rest that NA had to offer.
Yeah, they're just getting a couple of those spray shots through. Drone gonna play a little bit aggressive, gonna punish Skadoodle for standing there with his pants down, but Food will answer back, AZK as well, but Drone, he nose grinds off the top of that door entryway.
So Rosa, a headshot onto Food, and Wardell still lingering outside. Nails another shot onto Brax. It ain't gonna matter. TSM are the first North American Ignition Series champions.
Wardell, we kind of feel, at least the commentary team, that you guys are the best in the world right now. We might have the best player in the world as well. I'm not going to make you repeat it, but it's kind of feeling that way right now.
The original roster was with Cutler. When we first made the team in Valorant, we were clicking really well, and we had a good mix of new talent and experienced older talent, and it was going to work. We had the advantage early on because of that experience that we had.
In August of 2020, at the FaZe Clan Invitational, which brought together almost all of NA's best sides, TSM stood tall. They took out T1, Immortals, and won back-to-back series against Sentinels to win yet another marquee event in Valorant's first year.
He's just biding his time. Oh, he's going to shoot him right in the butt. Oh, dude, that is rough. Oh, Wardell. First blood on Subrosa, which is big considering how much Subrosa has contributed to this team. And then Dapper playing around that. That smoke was so nicely done too because it gave him enough of a crack there, but it doesn't even matter because Hayes goes inside, he gets 2 headshots, and he's gonna get that spike down. But they'll be back in here. They can heal. They will be fine. But it's a 2v3. Now it's going to be a 1v1. It's just up to Sick. He has been spectacular, but it's not going to matter because Wardell gets the final shot. And TSM are your FaZe Valorant Invitational Champions.
TSM really were that kind of team to watch in the first few months of NA Valorant, especially if teams like T1 kind of not living up to the hype.
At this point, TSM were undoubtedly one of the strongest sides in North America, perhaps even the world.
Early on, TSM were electrifying. You had Wardell on the operator, pre-nerf operator, just mowing down people. He was unstoppable on it. If it wasn't Wardell beating you for the operator, it was, Subrosa of his lurks, or it was Drone on his Phoenix. And then you had Hayes and Cutler, who were this backbone of the team, who weren't putting up the frags, but they didn't need to when they had the 3-headed monster of Wardell, Subrosa, and Drone, and they were so clutch. And they felt like this team that were just ahead of the curve.
Wardell had become a Valorant star and one of the game's most talented oppers. Subrosa was Mr. Reliable. Drone was top tier, while Hayes and Cutler had a wealth of experience. Although TSM did not win First Strike in December, the biggest NA Valorant event to date, they weren't that far away either.
This is going to be a super difficult hold for these 2 players in the A bomb site. Here comes Food, and he falls.
Oh, no.
Crashies.
Oh, no. Last player left alive. It's FNS. Only a few seconds left. But, folks, this could very well be it. Envy's life in the tournament on the line here. The push comes through, and Wardell locks it in. TSM are going to the grand finals of First Strike.
TSM, there's only 2 players left. There's a 2 versus 4 for TSM. They have to find a way out of this situation, but it's getting worse and worse. And who better than Hiko to look to seal the deal here in this grand finals as Colors tries. He does all that he can, but it's simply not enough against 100 Thieves. 100 Thieves, they've done it. They are your First Strike North America champions.
Well, they decided to go without a Sentinel, and they still did very well. Second place is still very good. Of course, in their eyes, second place is last place, but I wouldn't be surprised if 2021 they come out with something new that's unorthodox, and they're still going to dominate into the top North American teams.
TSM ended 2020 in fine form, and they were poised to carry that momentum into the new year where the Valorant Champions Tour brought the prospect of international competition, ever-growing prize pools, and LAN events. But just as Valorant was about to enter its first truly organized competitive calendar year, TSM's performance suddenly nosedived, and soon their status as a world-class team would be under threat. The fall of TSM Valorant. The goal for any Valorant team in 2021 was clear. Qualify for as many Masters as possible, the landmark event in each stage of the circuit, and accrue enough points to earn a slot at Champions, the tournament that culminated the year and acted as the World Championship. For Stage 1, due to the global pandemic, the VCT remained a regionalized competition. TSM faced their North American counterparts, teams they had more often than not been dominating. They were strong contenders to take on the Stage 1 Masters title and lay down a marker ahead of the international events that would come. But in the end, TSM's results were underwhelming.
The bomb has not been planted yet. They still need to get that down. 15 seconds remain. The time is running out for Exed. Huge kill as Whip on the rotation through the Viper's wall. 1 versus 1 situation. Even hits the shot at Subrosa, who was not looking through the corner. And Exed completes the upset.
Get the spike down and then stay alive long enough to be able to use your Hunter security. He's gonna, oh no freaking way Hiko does this again. He drops things down to a 1v1, taps, looking for the swing. He spotted Cutler, so he has a great idea of where he is, and Hiko does it again! Are you kidding me? Your First Strike champions are going to Masters!
Suddenly the team's ability to out-frag and blow their teams off the server with raw firepower was nullified.
It really did feel like the game evolved, and TSM, who were very sturdy in their roles, their play style, it got, flipped on their head. The quasi duelist role, which has kind of risen up, where you don't have to play, 2 duelists. You play a Sky or a KO or, a Sage in that role. And it felt like the step they had in front of everyone else, they caught up. When your best player, Wardell, is maybe the best operator player in the world, and they hike up the price, kind of really wrecks what you're kind of building on the team, right? So it felt like everything was changing around TSM, and TSM itself wasn't changing.
In response to the shock early exit in Stage 1, the organization brought on fan-favorite Counter-Strike star of days past, Brax, as a 6th member, an addition that was met with overwhelming positivity.
He was really going to become that role, and he was really going to inherit that role, and it felt like him going to TSM was going to be a big boon to them, that where, hey, you have Wardell and Subrosa as these big carries, but now you have Brax, who can be that anchor, who can be more of the lurker style, where, the head of the spear is always be Wardell, but now you have something that can backstab and, pull attention away from, Wardell with Brax, and it just never came to be, right?
But the move that could have been a turnaround point for TSM remains an enigma. You see, Brax only played 4 matches for TSM during his entire 3-month tenure with the team. Instead, the org continued to almost exclusively field their original roster, the lineup that they'd seen struggle lately.
Why was he signed? Why was he transferred? Why did it all go wrong? Because Brax isn't a bad player. Like, this is the hill I'll die on, where I think Brax can today be a top 10 player in North America.
And in Stage 2, where Masters would be Valorant's first ever international LAN event in Reykjavik, TSM weren't even close to making the cut.
This is looking very, very problematic for TSM right now. Hayes is going to try to make the drop towards Hell, but the frags are coming here for ABX. They're making it all work in their favor. Wardell is the last man standing, but not for too much longer. That's a wrap, and Box. They, in fact, win and eliminate TSM from the tournament, and they themselves will proceed.
Instead, they were watching on as Sentinels, the side that they butted heads with throughout 2020, went on to capture the biggest title in Valorant to date at that time. But this time, TSM made significant changes. They brought a new coach on board, they benched Cutler, let Brax return to his former org T1, and added Bang to the mix, a relatively unknown teenage prospect.
Leading up to this, maybe we were a little low. I mean, things weren't like going well. We replaced someone, and we weren't doing that well. It was kind of a low point for us. But it really helped with like us coming together, and now we're working like way harder. We're scrimming more, we're talking more, we're coming up with, solutions to problems that we probably should have fixed some time ago.
And although Stage 3 started with disappointment, TSM benched Drone in favor of another up-and-comer, Leviathan. And at North American Stage 3 Challengers 2, this change finally looked to yield the results TSM were hoping for.
Kick the action off with the first frag onto JVJ. Trying to hold the backside. Zachary, that's insane! Up on the box there, doing so much damage. Bang is going to get the trade through, though, and Hayes swinging on through the market as well. Also making life better here for TSM, and they are really starting to win this tug of war. Corey, last player left here, and what the hell is that from Bang? Their backs are against the wall. The Spectres are coming out. We've got a Sheriff for Corey. TSM are unrelenting. Wow, Corey, though, opens things up, but there's an even better response from Leviathan. We get the Guardian coming out from Bang, finish things off. One more player to be found is Corey with that Sheriff.
It's dead on the garage entrance. It's so ready for that.
And it's Hayes is even more ready for it. 13-2, TSM are going to win the grand finals here. Excellent work.
TSM were finally back to their winning ways, almost exactly a year since their last tournament victory. And although the strongest North American sides were absent, the victory was a foundation to build on.
The funny thing about TSM is that every time you feel like you're out, I can stop thinking about them. I can take off my jersey. I can tear down my Wardell poster. I can unfollow Subrosa on Twitter. Right when you're about to step out, they pull your ass back in. And that's TSM in a nutshell, is that they're so good. TSM brings you back in, and you got your TSM Wardell poster up, and you're on Reddit being like, TSM's going to Champions, baby. They look like they're going to be that team. Sentinels, get your ass ready. The rivalry's back on. TSM could be #1 in North America. They could be #1 in the world.
With the wind in their sails, they headed to Challengers playoffs, ready to duke it out for the 3 spots NA had for Stage 3 Masters in Berlin. But TSM was immediately brought back down to earth.
Wardell be the hero. No, Derek takes him down, so Hayes will have to do it all. He's been involved in so many altercations, completely blind. And the man of the hour, Neptune, sends TSM home. I'm sure there's going to be some postmortems done about TSM. This roster looked so strong for them, and they had moments of brilliance. They struggled against Envy, and then against Rise, they seemed to be firing on all cylinders at the start, but then Rise caught a momentum that TSM just simply could not match. Their chances of going to Berlin gone, and now they have to hope that a North American team wins in Berlin so that TSM can have a shot at those last chance qualifiers as well.
Well, I mean, the qualifiers are pretty hard for us, it seems like.
Round of 64?
I mean, right now I'd say the issue is like probably just roster instability. In the last month, we've switched 2 players.
The former Kings of NA had missed out on all 3 Masters events. But there was still a glimmer of hope left.
TSM losing like this from the finals of First Strike and now not being able to go to any Masters that we've had, this has been a disappointment.
Yeah, I mean, this year in general has not been what any of us would have expected from TSM. I think most of us thought TSM would roll into the year just like they did last year, remain a top team, but if anything, it's been the opposite. They've been one of the most disappointing teams in North America.
But when EMEA's Gambit Esports defeated NA's Team Envy in the Stage 3 Masters Grand Finals, TSM's bitterly disappointing season also came to a close. The hope of competing at last chance qualifiers with that one last attempt remaining at making it to Champions was lost. Only a year prior, TSM were dominating their region and collecting trophies. Previously viewed as some of the greatest talents in Valorant, they were now on the sidelines as every major tournament of 2021 passed them by.
It's bittersweet that, 2021 ends and they're not the first World Championship where everyone thought they would be when Valorant first started. When you first saw this TSM team come, together and dominate North America in the late 2020s, but it's bittersweet, but it's thank you TSM, because without them, we don't have a lot of the great stuff that we have now in Valorant.
But although TSM Valorant's second year was a severe letdown, their story hasn't ended. With a new VCT circuit around the corner, TSM's future balances on the edge of a knife. They could either continue fading into obscurity with disappointing results, or perhaps with the right changes and commitment, once again return to the very top of their esport. But as for which one will come to pass, only time will tell.